Bob Uecker was Milwaukee. He was the Brewers, the voice crackling from radios on summer nights, the wry humor in the face of defeat. He was more than a broadcaster. He was a friend you'd meet for a beer, the guy at the next table telling a joke. So when he passed, the city felt it like a punch to the gut. No more stories, no more laughs, just an empty space where the heart of Milwaukee used to be. But some places held onto his memory a little tighter, places where his presence lingered like the scent of cigar smoke and old leather, places like Jackson Grill. Bob's voice was a constant companion, a familiar sound that brought comfort and joy. His broadcasts were more than just commentary. They were a lifeline to the community, a thread that wove through the fabric of Milwaukee life. His humor, often self-deprecating, was a reminder that even in tough times there was always something to smile about. He had a way of making everyone feel like they were part of the game, part of the story. He was a man of the people, always approachable, always ready with a joke or a kind word. His connection with the fans was genuine and heartfelt. He was the kind of person you'd want to share a drink with, to swap stories with, to laugh with until your sides hurt. His presence was magnetic, drawing people in and making them feel at home no matter where they were. So, when he passed, the city felt it like a punch to the gut. No more stories, no more laughs, just an empty space where the heart of Milwaukee used to be. The places he frequented, the bars, the restaurants, all felt a little emptier, a little quieter. His absence was palpable, a void that could never be filled. But some places held on to his memory a little tighter. They became sanctuaries of his spirit, where his laughter still echoed in the walls, and his stories were told and retold. Places where his presence lingered like the scent of cigar smoke and old leather. Places like Jackson Grill, where every corner held a memory, and every patron had a story to share about Bob Uecker. Walk into Jackson Grill today and you'll see it. A small table draped in white linen, a single spotlight casting a soft glow. On the table, a flickering candle. This was Bob Uecker's spot, not officially of course, but everyone knew it. He'd sit there holding court, telling stories that would make you spit your drink out laughing. Now the table sits silent, a quiet tribute to a man who brought so much joy to the city he loved. Jackson Grill wasn't just a restaurant for Uecker, it was a second home. Nestled in the heart of Milwaukee, this place held a special charm that drew him in time and time again. The warm, inviting atmosphere made it a perfect retreat from the hustle and bustle of life. He'd been coming here for decades, since it was a small place downtown. Back then, it was a modest eatery, but it had a character that was hard to find elsewhere. Over the years, it grew, just like Uecker's love for it. The walls are lined with photos of him, shaking hands with Hank Aaron, grinning alongside Robin Yount. These snapshots capture moments of joy and camaraderie, a testament to the friendships and memories forged within these walls. Bobbleheads with that trademark Uecker smirk peer down from the shelves. Each one tells a story, a piece of history that adds to the rich tapestry of the place. It's a collection that any baseball fan would envy. It's like stepping back in time into a Milwaukee that only exists in memory now. The old street scenes and nostalgic decor transport you to a different era, a simpler time when life moved at a slower pace. The place is filled with his presence, even in his absence. Every corner, every table seems to echo with his laughter and stories. It's as if the very essence of Uecker is woven into the fabric of the restaurant. You can almost hear his voice booming through the room, telling another one of his legendary stories. The ambiance, the memorabilia, and the history all come together to create a place that is truly special, a sanctuary for those who appreciate the past and the people who shaped it. He was one of us. Stories from the staff. Ask anyone who worked at Jackson Grill about Uecker and their faces soften. Kevin, the manager, remembers Uecker always taking the time to chat with the staff, asking about their families. He never acted like a big shot, Kevin says, shaking his head. He was one of us. Andy, the owner, chuckles as he recalls Uecker's legendary appetite. He loved the escargot, Andy says, and the shrimp. Couldn't get enough of the bruschetta either. It's these small human moments that paint a picture of the man behind the microphone. An empty stool at the bar, missing Bob. The absence is palpable, a void that echoes through the dimly lit room. During baseball season, Uecker was a fixture at Jackson Grill. The walls adorned with sports memorabilia seemed to come alive with his presence. After home games, he'd often stop by, the buzz of the game still clinging to him. The energy he brought was infectious, spreading through the bar like wildfire. He'd sit at his table or sometimes at the bar, nursing a beer, talking baseball with anyone who'd listen. His stories, filled with humor and insight, captivated everyone around. Now, the bar seems a little quieter, the stools a little emptier. The lively conversations have turned into hushed whispers, as if the place itself is mourning. Milwaukee is a city in mourning, and Jackson Grill is its grieving heart. The loss is felt deeply, not just by the patrons, but by the very walls that once echoed with his laughter. They plan to keep the Candlelit tribute up for a while, a small beacon of light in the darkness, each flickering flame a reminder of the warmth he brought into their lives. Maybe one day, they'll even rename the booth after him, a permanent tribute to a man who was more than just a regular. He was a legend. Because in Milwaukee, Bob Uecker will never truly be gone. His spirit lingers in the cityscape, in the iconic landmarks, and in the hearts of those who knew him. He'll always be here, in the stories, in the laughter, in the heart of the city he loved. His legacy lives on, woven into the very fabric of Milwaukee.